this going here, and I'll talk a little bit of that. Hello, everybody. Candlelight self-quarantine edition of Reading with Joey, aka Poppy GTO. This is going to be a new series that we're going to do during quarantine here as the coronavirus is spreading around the world, where we're going to review some of the most classic poker literature and literature in the history of the entire world. Today, we're taking a look at a classic 1976 book by none other than Doyle motherfucking Brunson, the legend of the game himself. And now you might be asking, why on a Saturday night during the coronavirus are you reading Super System by Doyle Brunson? Well, it was brought to our attention by Doug Polk on Twitter, who coincidentally enough is starting up YouTube content, and then coincidentally enough is now going to try to troll the legend himself, Doyle Brunson. Doyle Brunson said, get me a Bible, read it. All you atheists, go whatever. Okay, Doyle Brunson, a little conspiracy theory-ish sounding right here. This is what it is. And Doug said, if I wanted to read a fictional work, I'd start with Super System. Wow. So Doug's saying Super System not relevant to the culture anymore. Obviously, he could be joking. He might be true as well too. So this was yesterday. So today we're going to be reading, like I said, Doyle Brunson's book, Super System. We're going to be going through it. If you want to purchase it right now, you can find it on Amazon.com right here. 354 ratings, 4.5 stars on here. You can pick it up. Paperback, $14.99. Contributions from Chip Reese, legend of the game, Joey Hawthorne, Bobby Baldwin, Mike Caro, and Dave Skolansky. Dave Skolansky, me and him are going to do a podcast sometime soon. But yes, you can see this is one of the predominant books in the history of poker. This was something that really changed the game for the poker world itself too. And if you want to run down a Doyle Brunson, 10-time bracelet winner, 86 years old, born in August 10th, 1933. Holy fuck. He still plays some of the highest stakes games of all time in Bobby's room here in Las Vegas. He has 10 bracelets, 26 final tables, 37 main event finishes, and he won the main event in 1976 and 1977 as well, too. Obviously, this guy's a legend in the game. He's been on the high stakes poker shows before. He helped teach a generation with Super System as well, too. So we're going to check this book out. We're going to go through it. We're going to see what this thing's all about. While our casinos are closed, while our shit is shut down, I'm excited to hop into it, guys. I don't know what we're going to find here, honestly. I don't know what we're going to see. We got our candlelight in the background. If you guys would like to light a candle, enjoy the mood. Reading with Poppy GTO about to begin. I'm also going to be giving away. Where's my giveaway one? I'm learning. I'm giving a giveaway one copy of Super System to somebody in my chat. I'll probably give away a couple of copies of Super System actually too, but this will happen throughout the reading. We got our notes over here. We're going to be taking our notes, and I'm always curious, what's your opinion of Super System as well too? So let's get into it here, guys. R.I.P. Doyle, for fuck's sakes. We're going to have to do that meme the entire time, my friends, aren't we? We really got it. Are we going to do it the entire time? What do you guys think? I'm fine with we do it the entire time. We just let people keep talking. I don't know. So, all right, let's see what's happening here. Doyle Brunson, Chapter 1, General Poker Strategy. Introduction tells ESP. I am fucking in. Superstitions, honor, being competitive, important tips, money management, courage, other important qualities, vacations. I read that last night, and I was like, oh, man, I wish I would have read this book before, because I never took vacations when I played every single day. Even now, I try to take more breaks now, more balance, but I like that chapter. Being versatile, tournament play. Chapter 2, Hold'em and no limits, similarities and differences. And then Chapter 3, Nolan and Hold'em 1, 2, 3, antes, other consideration, big pairs, ace, king, fucking queen, small pairs. Okay, I'm liking trash hands. Okay, I like that. Dog shit, I like it. I like it. Insurance, a final word. I'm loving this, man. I'm ready. I am in. Keeping it sane in the world of the coronavirus as the world's getting shut down. Grab your edibles. Grab your cup of water. Get your bottle of Adderall if you're on a prescription. We're not around here, so we're not taking it. Get your girlfriend, get your boyfriend, get your husband, get your wife, get your kid. Get your drink, whatever you need. Let's go down the rabbit hole that is Doyle Brunson Super System, baby. All right, let's check it out, man. Let's see. This book relevant or not? We're going to find out. We're going to find out, man. Okay, Chapter 1, General Poker Strategy. Poker is a game of people. That's the most important lesson you should learn from my book. Fuck, man, I'm in. Okay, holy, okay. I'm not. I'm not saying the guy isn't lying. Amen. That's true. Easy to forget that sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I'll be teaching you guidelines and concepts you'll be able to use with great success, and you'll quickly become a very good player. Shit, man. Okay. But if your ambition is to become a great player, a top flight pro, a superstar, you'll need to really understand your opponents. You'll need to get inside your opponent's head and be able to estimate with a high degree of certainty what his check, bet, or raise really means, and what hand he's likely to be playing. Man, I'm loving this right now, man. Okay, I'm liking it so far. Being able to do that accurately isn't easy, but you can do it if you're alert, observant, disciplined, if you concentrate whenever you play. Whether or not you're not involved in the pot, using my advice and the advice of my expert collaborators, you'll find that the task of unmasking your poker-faced opponents will become easier and easier. That's true. How many of us out there are not fucking focused when we're at the table, right? Even when you're in hands, you're not on the phone, you're over here, you're looking over there. You know what I'm saying? That's true. I mean, it's a good reminder sometimes to get these fundamentals in there, man. That's what poker's all about. People and the strategy you use against them. More than any other game, poker depends on your understanding your opponent. You've got to know what makes him tick. Okay. More importantly, you've got to know what makes him tick at the moment you're involved in a pot with him. What's his feeling? What's his mood? What's his feeling? What's his apparent psychological frame of mind right now? Is he in the mood to gamble, or is he just sitting there waiting for the nuts? Is he a loser and on tilt, playing far below his normal capability? Good way to define tilt. Or has he screwed down despite his being loser and begun playing his best possible game? Very important as well, too. Is he a cocky winner who's now playing carelessly and throwing off most of his winnings? Or is he a winner who started to play very tight so he can protect his gains? I wish I would have read this fucking passage about 13 years ago, guys, because I never really think about any of this stuff for the most part. I sort of just play my hand, and I put about a very small amount of thought into this, right, when the guy's obviously tilting, but I started playing 24 tabling, so you can't do this 24 tabling, so you aren't really sure of these aspects at all, so I've never actually learned these things. And now some people out there might be saying that's the old way to play as well, too, but I think these things are still very relevant, very interesting to note. Obviously now with strategies, people might argue against kind of this stuff, but it's another argument for another time, okay? When you can accurately answer questions like those, and there are many more like them, and employ the other ideas, principles, rules, techniques, and strategies I'll teach you in this book, you'll be one super tough motherfucking poker player. I like it. I like okay? I like this. Put it all together, and your playing ability will border on being world class. Let's do it. Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. Wow. I mean, we can become world class. This is awesome, man. It takes a lot to play winning poker at a world class level because poker is such a complex game, more complex than any other game or any form of gambling. Okay? I believe that. For example, the difference between playing good poker and playing good blackjack is as vast as the difference between squad tactics and grand strategy and warfare. You can beat a blackjack game by knowing exactly what to do in every situation and doing it. That's tactics. But in poker, you may face an identical situation twice against the same opponent, handle it two different ways, and be right both times. That's strategy. Okay? And that's why there's never going to be a computer that will play world-class poker. It's a people game. I like that, man. I'm digging this book so far. A computer could be programmed to handle the extensive mathematics of a poker game, but the psychological complexities are another matter. A system figured out by computer can beat blackjack because the dealer has no options. He has to stand on 17. He has to hit 16. Obviously, as the computers figure out poker better and better, and as the humans figure out what the computer's doing better and better, it does become more of that as well, too. A computer could play fair to middling poker, but no computer could ever stand face-to-face with a table full of people it had never met before and make quality, high-profit decisions based on psychology. Now, some would argue, right, in a ring format, 9-handed, 8-handed, 7-handed, that the computer isn't relevant there. The computer is only relevant in the heads-up format. There was recently a 6-handed bot, but there isn't any sort of from my understanding, there isn't a high-level multi-way solver that exists out there. So if you're playing heads up and heads up pots, you can take some things and concepts away. But how those concepts and ideas apply to ring poker are still unknown to people out there. So it says pay attention and it will pay you. Concentrate on everything when you're playing. Watch and listen. Remember, you have to do both and relate the two. You listen to what your opponent says, but you watch what he's doing independently of what he says, because a lot of players talk loose and play tight. And a little later, they'll reverse it on you. Okay? So if you look at a man every time he's involved in a hand, you judge him every time. That's the way you get to know him and his moves. If you aren't learning what you want to know just by watching and listening, create your own opportunity. Try to bluff at him the first good opportunity and see if he'll call you or not. The solver does not teach the solver. That's not what this is. This is the exploit solver, guys, right here. Okay, be careful when you're trying out the new exploit solver strategies. What Doyle's saying here. If he'll call you or not, what kind of he'll call you with, and what kind of he'll throw away. Okay, makes sense. Of course, anybody with a lick of sense is trying to keep you from reading him, but you can still figure him, because it is very, very difficult for any man to conceal his character. So basically, Doyle is saying he is really locked in at the table. He's paying attention all the time. He's always focused in. He's looking for all these psychological tells in his opponents to understand if his opponents are playing loose, if they're playing tight, what kind of tight player are they, what kind of loose player are there. He seems to have a really good understanding of when people are adjusting, whether they're intentionally adjusting or unintentionally adjusting, and he seems to be able to really pay attention to. He has a high level of mindfulness, which makes sense. He's 80-some years old playing in the highest stakes games. It makes sense if he's very locked in and focused in the zone when he's doing it. Let's see, a man's true feelings come out in a poker game. You'll see smart lawyers playing poker and giggling and carry on like school kids. And a man's hostilities can boil over after a while too. Watch a ball game with a man when he's betting a lot of money on it. You'll learn what kind of temper he's got, how well he can take disappointment. That's the way it is with poker. Well, I know a lot of really bad sports bettors who can't take these sort of thing like that. So, interesting. If you wanted to use poker just for a test of character, solely to learn about the men you'll have to deal with away from the poker table, it would be a telling test. As a matter of fact, isn't that what a lot of Friday night poker games between business acquaintances are really all about? Size them up at the Friday night poker sessions and then take advantage of them during the next business week. This book's probably a lot better to read than these higher level sort of like training courses that are teaching you solver-based shit. I mean, if you're a business guy from Rhode Island and you're playing in a weekly game with your buddies at the Wells Fargo station, right? This is all you need. This book's what you need right here, man. You're going to be going through K-News course on Upswing. Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about right here? Well, the Upswing Labs, I mean, there's a lot of really good courses out there for introductory game right now. So, but I like it, man. Learn from Doyle Brunson. This is great, man. I'm loving this. Wish I read this book 13 years ago, like I said. That brings us to another subtlety of poker. Not everybody you're going to play against thinks the way you do. Almost everybody wants to win, but they expect to win in different ways. Justin said capitalizing poker is so tilting. I was deciding if it tilted me or not. I'm just going with it at this point in time. But yeah, this book is definitely caters to the common player, Harbs. I agree, man. This is a very common player book. And that's what most players are. They're fucking common players. They're not trying to be K-New. Okay? They're trying to be Rhode Island Rick. You know what I mean? Like, they're just trying to... Okay. There's a very, very well-known player, a man who enters the World Series of Poker every year, who has a talent for figuring out exactly what your hand is. But when he decides that you're holding a pair of jacks and hold'em, and his own hand will not beat the jacks, he'll try to make you throw your hand away. To me, that's not being aggressive. That's being stupid. It works sometimes, but you should jeopardize your money when you think your opponent got a good hand. But should you jeopardize your money when you think your opponent got a good hand? Let him win the pot and wait till you think he doesn't have much of anything. That's like really fucking good right there. I mean, this is really good stuff. I mean, people like they gloss over these. They don't take them quite in, but that's a really good like fundamental reminder to have in your game. I mean, I'll point out like the most important things that I personally see here when I'm reading for you guys. If you're not as knowledgeable or if you're not as learning or anything like that, but I mean, that is I could have learned that concept way earlier in my career. I mean, my God, you know what I mean? Don't bluff people at the top of their range. Exactly. Exactly. Let him win the pot and wait till you think he doesn't have much of anything. That's when you can try to bluff him out of the pot, or wait until you think you have him beat, which is exactly correct. That's why this whole range versus range thing's come into play. Whatever. Another book for another time. Everybody in poker. I mean, listen, he basically explained what the solver's saying. That's what he's saying. Doyle explained what we're learning from the solver right now. The man's a god, okay? Listen, man, this is the Mike Postle back of fucking just killing people, man. He's like the god of fucking 1978. Well, I guess Postle's a god. Clearly he seems like a god. He still says he's a god. I mean, whatever. Maybe he's a god. Who knows? I don't know how could, jeez, fucking Christ. That's another story for another time, guys. Another update for another time. The god himself, man. 1979. This book was written. 78, 79, 76. I mean, one of their years, man. I've read 3 different things up here. Okay, everybody in poker thinks he knows what a tight player is, but I'm going to define it because so many people confuse the term tight with solid. Tight means conservative. A tight player is a player that is tight pretty much all the time. But a solid player is a player who's tight about entering a pot in the first place. But after he enters the pot, he becomes aggressive. Most good players, by the way, are solid, but the bad regs are sometimes going to be tight. Yo, Doyle. This is a solver. This guy's putting together right here, man. I am fucking floored by the quality of this book so far. Most good players, by the way, are solid. Okay, the opposite of the tight player, as you would imagine from the name, is the loose player. He'll play most. Did he just make this up, or is this supposed to? Who decided this was loose and tight? I mean, whatever. Whatever is what it is. He'll play most of the pots. Often he'll be drunk. You need patience to play with him, and you require a good hand to bet because he'll call you with extremely weak hands. GTO. Bam. The perfect opponent to face is the calling station. He's similar to a loose drunk player, but he rarely bets. Most of the time, he checks and calls. And if you can't beat a man who always checks to you, you can't beat anyone. You hear people out there say, oh, I need to play with the good players because I can't beat the bad players. Well, my man Doyle Brunson lets you know, if you can't beat a man who always checks to you, you can't beat anyone. Well, all those players, I guess, are aggressive too. So, timid players don't win in high-stakes poker. As you'll learn, I don't fit into any of the classic categories. I should put up a fiction meter. Oh, that's actually a good idea. I'm going to write that down in the notes. I don't know how to do that during the thing right now, but bro, this book's classic. As you'll learn, I don't fit into any of the classic categories. I have the reputation of being a very aggressive player with a definite tendency to be on the loose side. But despite my aggressiveness and looseness, I exercise a considerable amount of judgment whenever I play. Yo, I'm getting fired up. All right, let's get it. Tells. Okay, let's do it. Once you've pegged a player's basic style, don't make the mistake of assuming he's going to play the same way every day of his life. Sometimes a player makes a conscious effort to change his manner of play. More often, however, his current mood affects his play. True. Some days people have more, and some people do this intentionally and unintentionally too. Some days people have more of a playing spirit than on other days. If a man doesn't feel like playing and has become involved in a game anyway, he'll throw his hand away very easily. He can be bluffable. I never thought about that. That's fucking sick. That's crazy, actually. Interesting. Because when you play with regulars every day, right, you can kind of tell when they're on edge, when they're playing well. But I never thought to quantify them. I mean, this is my online background, right? I definitely need to read this book. This is like a very valuable experience for myself here. But if you see another guy sitting there chewing gum and bouncing his leg up and down, do you know he's anxious to get into the action? He came to play. That happens with me. You have to handle him with caution. It's not safe to bluff him, at least not to start with. Bro, I definitely have the leg bouncing up and down. I mean, I'm probably giving so much away. My God, man. This dude's a god. Yeah, the false tells, that's true. But if you see another guy, okay, almost all players have tells. These give away moves that are almost as revealing to a rival who has spotted them as actually showing him your hand. The most common tell is the pulse in a man's neck. A lot of people, the pulse in their neck is visible. If so, a man can't hide it, since nobody can control their heartbeat in stress situations. When you see a man's neck just throbbing away, you know he's excited, and usually he's excited because he's bluffing. Is that true? I think that's not true. I think they've proven that one false. I don't really know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a place to start. You may have heard someone ask another player, how deep are you? Pause. The question is sometimes an attempt to establish a tell. What? Is it really? I didn't know that. The question means how much money do you have in front of you? It's worth knowing. I don't think a player should be obliged to tell you, even though I've heard it argued both ways. Questions like that are worth asking for psychological reasons. When a man's under pressure, his voice may break, and then you know something about his current attitude. When I'm playing in a big pot, this is what Negreanu does, doesn't he? Yeah, makes sense. When I'm playing in a big pot, I won't let anyone involve me in conversation. Even real pros are susceptible. Once I had a tell on Puggy Pearson. Every time he put his chips in the rack and bet them, he was bluffing. He must have been doing that 6 months before someone else discovered it and told him. Another time, Amarillo Slim Amarillo Slim Preston pointed out to me that I was counting my chips off and betting them. When I had a hand and when I was bluffing, I would just push them in without counting. That's the only tell anyone had on me that I know about, but I'm sure there have been others. I'm sure there have been others too. Pulsing crotch. Yeah, I mean, listen. Pulsing crotch means your opponent has a weak hand and you're probably going to bluff with a weird hand. Let's see. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Who we got people watching? I don't even know if we have anybody watching. Is anybody watching Bumps? How many people are watching right now? To hear me read the book? How many people we got on YouTube? 583. You guys are nuts. Okay. I mean, listen, 583 people in the world. We got 700 billion people in the world. 583 watching the Super System read through, man. This is nice. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to go a whole book tonight. It's a long book, but I'm loving this book so far. Did D-Negs actually just read this book and become the best player of all time? I mean, he fucking might have, man. He was like this book was all you needed, I think, to read. If you just read this book, you'd been a god at poker. I think we're going to be pretty good after this book. All top professionals have a defense against people using tells against them. Sometimes when I'm bluffing, I say some particular thing like gee whiz, so that people connect that with, this dude's a god. Do you know how fucking sick that is? Do you know, man, I didn't know people were doing this shit. This is crazy. Because I always wonder, why do these smart players make these really weird, funny comments after you fold sometimes? And I was like, why do they do what would be the purpose of doing that? Because I know they're doing this on purpose, but I don't know why they're doing it. Oh, interesting. Okay. Wow. This guy's a god. I mean, I've always wondered why the fucking people do that. I'm like, why do they say that for? I just don't get it. God damn. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is sick. Okay. With a great deal of experience, you may learn not only whether a man is bluffing or has a quality hand, but the actual cards he holds. This is what people mean when they say a particular player can put a man on a hand. My natural ability along those lines has contributed a lot to my success. This is Underground who does it, huh? This is how Negreanu does this. I remember playing in a game where you could almost tell what Jimmy Casella had by the amount he would raise. That's the only thing you had to know. With an ace-10 and hold'em, he'd raise about 100. With an ace-jack, he'd raise 125 and so forth. Other players have patterns that, while less pronounced, are definitely visible to a poker professional. You take into account the way they are sitting, their previous playing habits, how they bet, and often even the tone of their voices. It's the totality of everything about them rather than any one particular thing. It's a jelly roll. The book will deal scientifically with tells and with psychology, but sometimes you don't even know how you know. What? This book, ESP. Okay, now we're getting fucking crazy. Okay. This book will deal scientifically with tells and with psychology, but sometimes you don't even know how you know. Only that you're sure of what your opponent has. True. What's up, Swissage on Twitch? What's happening, brother? What's up? I believe some good poker players are actually employ a degree of extrasensory perception. Wait a sec. This is the Apostle Defense. He's got an ESP. That's his I've been thinking that. He said it's like a world-class ESP. But he could only access the ESP through a device in his crotch area. That's the problem. If he did that without the crotch phone, then we can't. But when he has to use the crotch phone, you know, that's when it goes away. I mean, that's the possible defense. Well, I've never studied the subject in depth. It seems to me that there's too much evidence to ignore that ESP exists or that most people have it to some degree. Everybody else has had the experience of riding with someone else in an automobile and thinking of a song, then being surprised to hear his companion start singing that very song. You can't imagine how often I've called a player's exact hand to myself and been proven right. Wait, is he saying he can? He's actually a god? Holy fuck, man. What is it? Postle thought Postle read this and he's like, fuck it. Give me the phone in my crotch area. I'm like, I need to use that. If he talks about using a cell phone in his crotch area in this one, I'm going to freak out right now, okay? This is going to be pretty sick. Okay. You can't imagine how often I've called a player's exact hand to myself and been proven right. There's even a plausible, though commonly unproven explanation how a person can know what cards another player's holding. Okay. The brain, wow. The brain's functions involve electrical impulses. In this electronic age, we're becoming more familiar every day with appliances which broadcast purely as an unintentional byproduct energy impulses picked up on dissimilar appliances at considerable distances. Is it really too unreasonable to suspect that such a highly sophisticated electrical device as a human brain, during the intensity of concentration in a big pot, could broadcast a simple message like a pair of jacks a mere 8 feet? What the fuck? Huh. Wow. Okay. I hope I live to see that question answered. Please, he lived. He made it. He made it, baby. He made it. He made it. Meet Mike Postle, Doyle. This is fucking crazy right now. Holy moly guacamole. Okay. Wow. In the meantime, use all the sophisticated techniques and strategies presented in this book in determining whether or not to call, bet, or raise. But in the rare situations when all your card knowledge and best judgment leave you in doubt, go with your strong feeling and not against it. So all of our theories are proven correct right now. That he may have been using a device inside himself to have that strong feeling given to him, right? The grabbing the hat, who knows, the crotch phone, Mr. Crotch Man, Crotch Theory Optimal CTO. Do you see what they said? He lived to see Mike Postle. This is why Doyle's still around, because he couldn't go before he saw Mike Postle. This is fucking crazy. Superstitions, there are bigger faults. Okay. I don't believe in traditional superstitions, but there are a couple that I still honor. Like most poker players, I don't like to be paid in $50 bills. Okay, this book's going to go off a little kooky. But there's also a reason for that. It's easy to mistake a $50 bill for a $5 bill. And I don't eat peanuts at a card table. There's no reason in the world eating peanuts should affect the outcome of the game, but it doesn't cost me anything to observe the taboo against it, so I observe it. That's a jelly roll too. And there are bigger faults a player can have. That's true. That's true. John Varala, he says, I love how people look back at old information and laugh as if people come up with something better if it was them. John, that is one of the worst what is that thing when you put one thing with the other? No. Somebody, if they're watching, right, I think this stuff's awesome. And we found Mike Postle, so this is great. We realized something today. But I think people, if they laugh, what they're laughing at is they're just laughing at it. They don't think they can fucking go back and go write the book themselves better. I think most people are aware that they can't go back and write the book themselves, buddy. What are you talking about? What is this guy on? This book's amazing. What are you talking about, buddy? Let's see. When I lose a pot, I sometimes get up and walk around the chair. Some poker players do that to change their luck. I do it just to cool off. I feel you. Nor do I like to see women. We skip past this part or what? Wait a second. Are they going to cancel Doyle Brunson? What's going on here? Nor do I like to see a woman at the poker table. That's not superstition either. I was brought up to respect women, and I just don't feel uncomfortable in high-stakes warfare against women. I like it. I mean, I don't like it. I'm indifferent. I don't care who I play against. I've never met a woman who's a really top player. What the hell is going on in this book? I mean, it's 1970s. Maybe you never really did meet a woman that's a top player, right? Does everything got to be insulting the female to male race? I mean, I don't know. Let y'all decide. Maybe that's because there aren't a lot of women players. I have, however, seen some women who are pretty good, even by professional standards. Okay. I think he's safe. We got some crazy people out there, Doyle. They're just waiting for anyone to say anything about anything. I doubt that any of my children would decide to play professionally. Shout out to Todd Brunson. It can be a very good life, and it has been good for me. But my children haven't come from the background that produces good poker players. You try to make life a little easier for your kids than it was for you, and rightfully so. But the other side of that coin is that they're not forced to be so competitive when they're young and are unlikely to develop that instinct as it takes to be a good player. That's a great point. It's a really good point. He's basically saying that, right, when you need to prove it, we need to make it out of life, when you want to become successful, when you want to become rich or have this freedom that you didn't have growing up because you grew up in poor environments, he's saying that you want to give your children an easier life than that, so you don't want them to have to struggle and be so competitive to try to win everything because they already have a big advantage in terms of how they're winning in the game of life in a lot of areas, which makes sense. Obviously not always the case, but generalizing there. Okay, chapter 1. Okay, honor. Honor's a gambler's ace in the hole. It is good insurance to have the reputation and respect that make it possible for you to borrow money, but borrowing is to be avoided. The first time I came to Las Vegas, I lost my entire bankroll of $70,000. I got up on the poker table and didn't ask anyone for anything. At one time, that's pretty sick. And the men who were at that poker table will always respect me for that, even though I've loaned money to some of them and they to me since. I was completely broke when I got home to Fort Worth. I got a $20 bill somewhere and started grinding it out playing 2-cent auction bridge. Whoa. When I built up a little bankroll, I moved into a richer company and eventually returned to Vegas. Okay? Don't borrow money from anyone you don't loan money to. I could have made a faster comeback by borrowing money, but you have to be careful whom you borrow from in the gambling business. And if you make up your mind to use the credit you have, you may not manage your money so well or the money you borrow. Oh, this is really good stuff. When you've mismanaged somebody's money, it is hard to compete against him. It's hard even to play in the same game. Make it a practice never to be staked, never to borrow money if you can help it. And if you can't help borrowing, borrow the minimum and pay it back in the exact day you promise or sooner. Shout out to Michael Suckman in the chat. What's up, buddy? What's going on, guys? Welcome. Corona, self-quarantine, special edition coronavirus reading, Doyle Brunson Super System. Doug Polk said this was more fiction than the Bible, and I haven't read the Bible, so I'm not sure, but this book's pretty factual so far. I'm liking this. You must maintain a reputation for honor in the gambling business. Your word must be your bond. It'll be your ace in the hole. Being competitive. Let's see what we got here. Few people realize how intensely competitive you must be to become a good poker player. I couldn't play poker just for fun, and I don't think many of the top professionals could. I've always played to win, and whenever I could discover any bad habits, I've tried to eliminate them just as I would try to eliminate mistakes in business I might be running. Wow, I love this book. This is like one of my, I don't know if it's the edible or not, but is the edible, you think? You want one for the reading? Let's get one out of the thing. Let's do half. A cumulative, no, that's the wrong word. What's the word I'm looking for? At the same time together. A community edible? Are we going to do a community edible? Okay. Community edible for everybody out there. Only if weed's legal in your town. I'm in Las Vegas, GTO headquarters. We're doing it just, we're shaking things up a little bit. All right, let's see what we got here. Use your best game against anybody you play. Many of the top pros are close friends, but they almost never give each other a break in the game. Sailor Roberts, for instance, is one of the best friends I've ever had. He helped pick me up when I was young and unknown and broke. But when I play cards with Sailor, I do my level best to cut his throat, and he tries to cut mine. Communal. It's like our communion for people that like edibles. We're taking our edible. No, not like that, huh? I mean, kind of. Everyone's going to take it. It's kind of like our communion. The Church of GTO headquarters, it's an edible. But when I play cards with Sailor, okay, he tries to crush him. That makes sense. Okay. Shout out to Asian Andy as well too. What's up, man? What's happening? In the trade, this characteristic is called alligator blood, and it is highly valued and respected. It means you'll do anything within the rules to win. You try to have special moves such as making a slow, hesitant call in place of a fast call, when a man might bet at you again. You might set a trap for him by leading him to believe you're betting a hand which is a slight favorite, when you actually have a hand that's pretty unbeatable. I didn't know this was what I'm referencing. This is what Mike McDermott talks about in Rounders, right? He goes alligator blood, or he gets described as having alligator blood, right? Makes sense. Okay. He says, I go into a poker game with the idea of completely destroying it. Changing gears is one of the most important parts of playing poker. It means shifting from loose to tight play and vice versa. Don't do it gradually. It works better to switch suddenly. Once they catch on, change gears again. Okay. If you're playing with a lineup of people who have played you before, do this even more often. When you really think they know you, change gears several times in one game. In an ultimate game, the gear to stay in most of the time is the one that most people at their table are not using. In other words, play mostly tight in a loose game and play mostly loose in a tight game. Dare I say GTO. That is literally, debatably, the most implementable, actionable advice you can take right now for your poker game. I don't care who you are. If you remember one thing from today's study session, it is that right there, right? When the game's really loose, play tight. When the game's really tight, that's when you can loosen up a little bit. But the downside is that what you might do is you might not realize a game goes from loose to tight, and then you think you're in a tight game and you're playing really loose, and other people start playing really loose too, right? So you got to understand kind of what's happening. I think a better example of this is something that I actually don't do, which is I'll be playing loose in loose games, right? Because I'm playing Pop Mental. I like to play a lot of hands pre-flop. This is more for Hold'em. For PLO, you can play a lot of hands pre-flop because, to me, I'm making better decisions on those later streets with a certain part of my range than my opponents are making. So my big problem is that I don't want to tighten up once the game tightens up. And what happens is I end up playing a little bit too loose. And against better players, they're going to fucking really punish you in a kind of situation like that. So that's actually been one thing I've noticed myself. I struggle with playing when I'm stuck and I want to keep playing and I notice the game tightens up a little bit, is that, I play a little bit too loose. So I take this to the extreme, unfortunately, and get out of line. Sad times. I also vary my play according to how I'm going. If I'm losing badly, I play tighter. If I'm winning, I try to play looser. Players are more apt to be intimidated by me when I'm winning. Makes a lot of sense. Gile Vaz, a bit outdated, do you think? I mean, a lot of this stuff very relevant to live poker stuff, right? Like it's just something to think about, right? Whether it's like the way to do it, it's also a way to think because a lot of players are thinking like this. So the better you can understand your players, to me, but I mean, some people are going to argue that now with the way the training's going. But I still think this stuff's very, 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 very relevant. Especially because you're not playing in games with all the top players. You're playing in games with a lot of weaker players too. So it's all up to you how you want to learn the game of poker. But yeah, this is very, very, very hard to really know or master, to know how you're doing. There's no way to really judge necessarily how you're doing in these situations because it takes such a large sample size to be able to know. That's why the game is being taught now from a more, very theory-based, range-based kind of do this with this type of hand strategy versus this, which is saying, which is saying, right, it's kind of saying, okay, against in a loose game play, right, in a loose game play tight, in a tight game play loose, right, well, what does that really mean, right? It's hard to know what that means. What is tight? What is loose? So it's kind of a hard idea to teach people for the most part, but a lot of people don't necessarily even know the ranges. So if you're going to take one thing away, you can start with this, and then you build your game up from there. Right, but you guys aren't going to understand all the ranges and how you might adjust and what you might do differently, and you might not even have other ranges, but sometimes you're going to get fucking bored in the games you're playing. You're going to want to play some hands, right? So you're not going to go to a live table, go drive 3 hours to the fucking casino and play GTO-approved ranges pre-flop in a 9-handed full ring game. No, you're going to play some fucking poker. So play mostly tight in a loose game, play mostly loose in a tight game. Boom. That's when it's applicable, right? It's not applicable to you're playing tough players, the best players in the world, right? Make sense? Makes sense? Makes sense? Shows? Makes sense? Yeah, I don't know. Makes sense to me. Okay. Yeah, this is getting back to fundamentals. We all need to review our fundamentals. I want to review this guy, Zhao Vaz. How did I make this? What the hell did I do here? Let me take this away real quick. I don't know what I did. I like this guy, Zhao Vaz. Seems like a very wholesome kind of guy. And by wholesome, I mean not wholesome at all. Okay, let's put it back. Pure garb. I mean, what is an asshole? What does he think he's Doug? What's going on here? Okay. When I'm playing a no limit game like Hold'em or Deuce to 7 lowball, if I win a pot, I nearly always play the next pot as well within reasons. Although cards will break even in the long run, card rushes do happen. A card rush means more than that, you're winning a lot of pots. It also means that you have a temporary command of the game. Your momentum is clear to all the players. On occasions like this, you're going to make correct decisions, and your opponents may make errors because they are psychologically affected by your rush. Make the most of these opportunities and give yourself the chance to enjoy them to the fullest. Amen. Art and science. Playing great poker takes both. Poker is more art than science, and that's what makes it so difficult to master. Knowing what to do with the science is about 10% of the game. Knowing how to do the art is the other 90%. You not only have to know when to bet, when to raise, and when to fold, you also have to be able to do those things with a certain finesse. The man's a god. But one has to start with the basics. There are certain things about probabilities that you absolutely must know. The first is that the cards break even. If you turn over 13 cards from a deck, then reshuffle and do this again and again, the ace of clubs will show up just as many times if I'm shuffling them or if you're shuffling them yourself. Over a long period of time, the worst player in the world is going to catch just as many good cards as the best player in the world. We'll have the same cards to play, but I'll beat them sooner or later because I'm a better player. That's universally true. It applies to all forms of poker. It's actually interesting. I am trying to learn more about live poker and these sorts of things like that. So a lot of this stuff to me is stuff I've never personally studied or thought much about, because when you play online and you play 24 tables, you don't put too much thought into a lot of this stuff. You're just trying to make as quick decisions as possible. So the way I built my strategy was, how can I build a strategy where it's a very basic, very straightforward, I make all my decisions in less than a second. So that would be the way I built my strategy. So even when I stopped playing less tables, it's always been hard for me to really focus in on a lot of these things because my brain has been so functioned to play 24 tables and program to play 24 tables that there are certain periods of time where we're able to really focus in and lock in. But, there's definitely been times where I haven't been able to as well. And I just get bored by playing 4, and I just usually stop playing because it's boring. It's really not fun to play 2 or 4 tables, even if I'm winning a lot of money. Well, I just made a realization. That makes sense. But yeah, I think anytime, I always just really like playing a lot of tables. Playing 1 table is fun and it's easy, but it just isn't quite as stimulating as my brain needs, I suppose. So every new at the table conveys information. That's true. But as you soon discover, there are certain games that involve a lot more skill than others. You have to know what to do with your cards in all types of poker, but the relative importance of the knowledge varies with the kind of poker you're playing. Okay? Important tips. Another thing you should understand is that poker is set up in a fashion that is not entirely logical. A royal flush is the highest hand, but it's just as hard to be dealt exactly. Okay, but the ranking of the cards themselves is arbitrary. There's no real reason a king should be worth more than a deuce. That makes sense. Okay. Any poker game you're in, remember that it takes a stronger hand to call a raise than it takes to raise it yourself. Also remember that Thomas says when you play live, you have much more mental energy to focus on things. That's true. That's a good point. These are things I'm trying to learn right here. Live poker fundamentals. Good no-limit players bluff 4 or 5 times as often as good players in limit games. JJ, you put notes in the notepad, bro. It's true. It's true. You have to pick your players to bluff. You can hardly bluff a sucker at all, whereas any good players can be bluffed. But always bear in mind the player's mood that particular day. If he's anxious to play, you handle him more cautiously than you would otherwise. Bluffing is the main reason I believe no-limit hold'em poker requires more skill than limit. Bluffing in no limit requires real strategy and the ability to size up your opponents every time you sit down to play. Yet, paradoxically, poker becomes easier the higher the stakes of the game, at least in games where professionals are involved. Down the low limit games, the professionals who are involved don't have much money, and what they do have, they're trying to keep for a stake and to live on. So they're playing the best poker they know how to play. But tip in the high stakes games, you encounter big businessmen, bookies, hotel owners, millionaires, and they're playing for entertainment and they are not playing hard. Yes, those are the games I'm trying to get better at, the games where people are playing for entertainment. So that way, when I start my private game and I'm playing with only people who have absolutely no fucking idea what they're doing, Doyle Brunson's super system is going to make me a world-class live player against those kind of guys, man. Amen. Love this book. Thank you, NFG, JGF. I'll start a reading channel. I'll start a reading channel, guys. I'll just read the books. Money management. Oh my God, I need this one. I've never been as conservative about money management as most successful people are. I don't think your bankroll is the only factor you should consider in deciding whether or not to play in a high limit game. If the game cries out to be played, and if it's a good game, you feel good, and if you aren't tired, you should try that game even if it is higher than you normally would play. And you should stay in it until the game becomes bad or you grow tired. Of course, you make that decision within reason. Anytime you extend your bankroll so far that if you lost, it would really distress you, you probably will lose. It's tough to play your best under that much pressure. Oh my God, GTO. Okay, I'm liking this. Okay. I'm liking that one right there. That's a really good point about playing underrolled. The Poppy GTO Book Club. $2,500 bankroll to play 510, not GTO. What do you guys think? Should we hop in the underground Pop Manoa streets right now? I just joined a club today. I'm in the club. They got 2-5-10 Pop Manoa or 2-5 Pop Manoa. We could play on there on stream. Why not? No? Okay, let's keep going. In No Limit, you'll usually want a bigger bankroll for a game. Wait, what? Did he really say that? Wait, what? I prefer using judgment on individual games rather than hard rolls, but if you want such a roll, I would suggest you play 10 limit until you have at least $1,000 bankroll. In No Limit, you usually want a bigger bankroll for a game of the same general size. In No Limit game with 2 blinds of 5 and 10, I'd say you need at least $2,500. Huh. I see what Doyle was doing here. Is he saying that to sit down in the game, you want to buy in for that? He might. I think he is. To play $5, $10, $25, and $50 4 blinds, you need about $10,000. He's saying you should buy in for that, I think, right? I don't know what he's saying, actually. It's been a long time since I was broke, but the way I always got broke was by playing with desperation money. I let myself get into too much of a hurry and played in games I didn't have the bankroll for. If you have a limited bankroll, be very certain to get the maximum amount of gamble you can for your money. That's an important factor to consider in picking your games. If you only have a small amount of money to invest in a game and you have a wide choice of games like you do in Vegas, you may be better off playing a small no-limit game than a high-limit game. If you have $10,000 you can afford to lose in one game, you might be better off risking it in a no-limit game. Simply because if you do get lucky, you can win real big and your bankroll might get healthy fast. Oh my God, this is propaganda. This is propaganda. Oh my God. Do you know what he's trying to say? He's saying that you should play his game, No Limit Hold'em. But I think he plays a limit too, but he's saying take your shot. This is shot taking propaganda. I love it. This is amazing. A $10,000 bankroll for $5, $10, $25, and $50 4 blinds, you need about $10,000. I think he says that's your whole roll. Is he saying that's everything? Doyle's a fucking legend. When I buy a new no limit game, I want to have as many checks in front of me as anybody else at the table or more. Garrett Adelstein rule there. I am not afraid, and you shouldn't be afraid of getting drawn out on a hand. Going through the whole stack, all your efforts in poker are directed towards getting in a position to bet the maximum amount you can on the hands that are worth it. When those opportunities do occur, you don't want to be limited in the amount of action you can accept. So Doyle was watering the crops with this book. He was trying to teach you just enough to get you in the game and feel confident to play, but he knew he still had massive edges over you because you had to learn how to do all these things, and he already knew how to do them. The man's a god. Always play for chips rather than cash. Chips are easier to win. A $5 chip is the same size as a $500 chip. It's just not the same color. If you bet a man $20,000 and $500 chips, that's only 40 chips, 2 stacks. But if you bet him $20,000 $100 bills, it would be a big pile of money and would tend to freeze him up. Nice. Yeah, Mr. K. The podcast schedule next week, guys. You can see it. Bill Perkins, Doug on Monday, Doug Polk Tuesday, Rob Young, party poker owner, shut down his casinos, paying off his employees on Wednesday, and Mike McDonald, Timex, longtime member of poker community, Poker Shares, gambling website. He was betting on the World Series of Poker going under, and we'll see. We don't know what's going to happen with that yet, but it's coming up next week, man. Podcast all week long. Tune in, check it out. It'll be a great time. 2 p.m. Eastern time for most of them, except the one with Doug. That'll be 5 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, it's also your advantage to think of chips as units and not as money. You may consider your money status before the game and after the game. But while the game is in progress, it's only a game, and the chips are just units. You trying to win as many units as you can. Think GTO, much love, brother. He opens up Twitch for the first time in how long and sees this. Amen. Amen, man. Welcome. Welcome to Candlelight Readings during quarantine hour with the big Poppy GTO. They get triggered when I call myself Poppy. Poppy GTO is not a Spanish name. It's my name I made up, Poppy GTO. That's what it is. Shout out to Will Grady. Much love, Will. Let's see here. The concept is not really unique to poker when you think about it at all. All good businessmen realize that they have to have different standards of what constitutes extravagance in business and what constitutes extravagance in their lives outside of business. And the standard they set for business is often more liberal. They realize that the house or the car they buy for their private use has to be paid out of profits rather than out of operating capital. The Poker Bible, I like this book right here. Okay. So when they need a new piece of equipment to make a few more professional dollars of profit and just to maintain their competitive edge, poker professionals don't say to themselves, I could buy a house with this money. What am I doing risking it in a poker game? They realize that it's operating capital and not profit, and therefore not really available to buy that new house or that car anyway. Makes sense. Interesting. Okay. All I'm telling you to do is apply the same sound principles to the business of playing poker. And that reminds me of a story. Okay, Lowball Pete and his friend Shorty. Let's get it, man. What's up, Beverly Crusher MD in the chat? What's happening? This guy named Lowball Pete went over to his friend Shorty's house, and Pete said to Shorty, I've got to have some money. The baby don't have any food. The rent's due, and they're going to throw me out of my house. So Shorty, who was a good friend of Pete, said, well, I understand there's $100. Pete said, thanks, Shorty. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Shorty said, well, I know that. Where are you going now? And Pete said, I'm going over to Al's house. They have a 200 limit lowball game going on right now. Shorty said, well, what difference does that make? How are you going to play? And Pete said, oh, I've got money for that. The factor that really determines what kind of game it's going to be is not the limit itself, but the size of the ante in relation to the limit. If you're playing $10 limit and entering a quarter, you'll have to play more liberally than if the ante is only a quarter. This is very important information because it's something you can ascertain before you ever sit down and risk any of your money. That information, all the other pre-game data you can collect, such as the kind of players your opponents are, should be weighted against the following consideration. How much do you stand to win in this game? Suppose the ante is so high and the players are such that you have to involve $8,000 or $9,000 of your own money to win, but the players have only about $30,000 among them at the table, and you know that they probably won't bring any more money into the game if they lose that. It's pretty hard. This guy's greedy. It's pretty hard to get more than about half the money in a game, so $15,000 would be a big win. Interesting. To go into that game, you'd be risking $8,000 or $9,000 to win a maximum of $15,000, even if you got the best hands of your life and played them jam up. That's probably too much risk for that much money, since there's usually a better game down the street. Well, games are really fucking good for Doyle, if that's what he's saying right now. Wow. Okay. Lorena's piece says, what's the point of this show? Make Doyle look stupid, have fun, educate your viewers? I think this book's awesome. I never read the book before. What is this guy talking about, man? What's this guy crying about? Comes in here, one comment, that's what he says. I'm here to read the classic poker book, Super System by Doyle Brunson, buddy. What are you talking about? This doesn't make anybody look stupid. Why are you even, I don't understand what this guy's problem is. Why is he saying Doyle Brunson looks... Watch your language, Laurenitis. What is this guy's name, man? Watch this guy's fucking language, man. Don't be calling this book stupid. Don't come disrespect the Poker Bible like that, buddy. I don't know what your fucking problem is, man. Yo, get this dude out of my chat, man. Can we get this guy out of here? Can we fucking send over Emperor Tice over there to take care of him, please? I can remember losing 98,000 in a game that didn't warrant losing 10,000. I could have had only won 30 or 40,000, and to do that, I've had to break everybody there. So this advice amounts to telling you, do as I say and not as I do. I believe a person should try to learn from watching another man's mistake. It is so much cheaper than learning from his own. Good point. It's a really good point. You have to set a stricter limit on your losses if you're playing limit poker than if you were playing no limit, because it's harder to win money back in a game where the size of the pot's limited. In a limit game, if you find yourself losing consistently over a significant period of time and you feel that the cards have been breaking close to even, the game may be too tough for you. Get your toko out, Richard. I like that, Richard. Shout out to Richard, man. Shout out to Richard. Walk away from it. If the game's too tough, walk away from it and don't come back until something has changed to make you more of a favorite, like the absence of a few very good players who were there before, or the feeling that you have improved your play. Hey, man, it's pretty good stuff. This is all really good stuff. It's all interesting to think about. It's good to have it reminded to you as well, too, even though you might know this stuff, but you might not be able to know how you know it or know how you can explain it. So, shout out to ASA Fons, F-Son, Asafason, Afafason. I've watched you since your first videos. It's the first one I'm watching live. Can I get a shout out? Yes, you can. Much love. Much love, much love. Courage, the heart of the matter. I'm asking you to walk a very thin line between wisdom and courage and keep a tight rein on both. The line gets thinner the more you excel at poker. The reason it's so narrow a line is that courage is one of the outstanding characteristics of a really top player. It's important because some people completely break down when they lose a big pot and they play very badly after that. Yeah. Whereas other men play just that much harder. That's true. If I could give you a single player to take as a shining example of true courage, it would be Puggy Pearson. Puggy, at his best, is really, really good, but he has suffered long losing streaks. Let's see here. Okay. Yet even during such dismal streaks, his play just doesn't rise and fall with the way he's doing in a particular game. He just keeps trying. Nothing stops him. I like this a lot, man. One of the elements in a player's courage, the realization that the money you have already bet is no longer yours regardless of how much is involved. You no longer own any money you've already put into the pot. It belongs to the motherfucking pot. True. Your decision must be based on the current situation. If you feel that large bet is now necessary to win that pot, then that's what you should do. If you think that there's no way for you to win the pot, then you should have to give it up even if you already committed a large amount of money. It's a cliche, but true anyway. Don't throw good money after bad. Amen. I like this a lot. This is great. I certainly did not apply that for multiple years in my poker career. Wow. That's true. It's very true, PokerFin Chad on Twitch. Can I zoom in a little on the text? Let's see here. Is that better? Okay, good. Oh, that's way better, isn't it? Yeah, I do that all the time, man. Sunk cost fallacy. I do that all the time. Think, GTO, how long am I going in quarantine for? I'm going in quarantine for as long as it takes, guys. As long as it takes, we're going to go into quarantine for, man. We'll see. Any money you put into the pot is not yours, except if you are Armenian Mike. That's true. Remember, guys, you want to pick this up. It's on Amazon right now. Doyle Brunson Super System. Old school book right here. Get it in hardcover. I mean, every poker player basically needs this in their collection because it's such a fucking classic book. You have to have the Super System at your house. You got to have it. So, I mean, you do need it. Really do. It's a collector's item, man. Do you really need it? I think you do. I think it's good to go back and watch, man. I love poker history, so I need it. Another element which demands courage and judgment is dealing with implied odds. It's a concept you'll be dealing with in other sections of this book. It means you have to weigh your bet against not only the present size of the pot, but the anticipated size of the pot when all psychological and mathematical factors are evaluated. It takes a lot of courage and motherfucking to risk your money against a profit you can't see, and it takes courage to move all in with bluff when you suspect an opponent is weak. They say courage is invisible, but I never knew a top player who didn't have it written all over his face, clear as day. It's a great book. Patience and staying power. Coming to the table with enough time to stay and play a while. While sitting down and trying to destroy a game by firing from the start is my favorite strategy, it doesn't always work. There are games that demand staying power. True. Limit games take lots of patience because the best hands are usually shown down. That means hard to bluff successfully. So you have to wait for the best hand, and you have to recognize the best hand when you get it. Or suppose you sit down at a game that includes two drunks who are calling every bet. It will be impossible to simply take charge of that game. So you'll have to wait until you get hands with that will beat them. Challenge accepted, Doyle. I will love to take that challenge on. Quality, other important qualities for success. Alertness. Hey, Doyle took my name in my book I wrote. I should read my own book on here, actually. I forgot I wrote a book. Chasing the Poker Dream, the qualities of poker success. Amen. The quality of a high-stakes poker player. Amen. Amen. With inclusions by many top poker players in the entire world. Amen. Dan Coleman. Amen. Ryan Fee. Amen. A lot of good players in that book, man. even one I don't talk to anymore. Amen. Alertness. Whenever you're in a game, you have to stay alert the whole time. Concentrate during the entire session. It can be a very long time indeed. The ability to stay alert for long sessions could be a major factor contributing to your earning power, and it has been a key to my own success. Once, when I was in my middle 20s, I played 5 days and 5 nights without any breaks except to go to the bathroom or to eat meals, which were brought in. I never left the table for more than 5 minutes. Scott says, what books did you read before starting your career? I never read a poker book before. I read the Pot Limit Omaha book. I never read a No Limit Hold'em book when I played No Limit Hold'em. I started fucking playing. I wouldn't do it again, and I wouldn't recommend anyone else do it. I never again had the stamina I did before that session, but it demonstrates how long it's humanly possible to stay awake and alert when you have resolve and the courage. Today, at the age of 44, I suspect I could and I would play. He was 44 when he wrote this. That's insane. 10 years older than me right now. Wow. I suspect I could and would play 3 days in a game where I can make a great deal of money, but I don't like to play that long now. Not only because it's grueling and not particularly healthy, but because it's bad policy to play anything with the best you can. And that's simply not possible much beyond the first day. I can play at my best for about 36 hours now, but after that drop-off becomes noticeable to me, and if not to my opponents, the reason I have more staying power than other players is just discipline. I don't drink much, and neither do most good players, and I never drink when I play. No top player drinks while playing, nor do we let our minds dwell on personal problems while we're playing. You should make a conscious and constant effort to discover any leaks in your play and then eliminate them. If you discover you're playing too many pots, tighten up. Other times you may need to play more pots. Okay. One form of discipline is to learn to play all poker games profitably, even though those you don't like. Keep yourself alert and conditioned by playing some of the games you're not best at. That's a good idea. Besides, it'll enable you to give the other guy a little action at his game if he wants it. Oh, that's not a bad idea at all. Interesting. Try to keep a mental record of the games, kinds of games in which you do well, as opposed to those in which you don't. Constant self-discipline will pay off in the long run. Drawn out sessions become any bad habits you have will become exaggerated as you grow tired. The fewer bad habits you have, the less risky it is to play long sessions. Yeah, I never really studied any of this stuff. So how I learned all this stuff from playing poker, like the soft skills and mental side of things, was just by playing millions of hands and trying to go up and down stakes. So I never really studied anything like this in my life. I just sort of came up with it or talked with friends, and I developed my thought processes reading the forums, but I never really read a book in a concise way like this before. So that was my study was I just played a lot, and I went over my hands, but I mainly played. And then at some point in time in my career, once I got to higher stakes, I realized, it's probably good if I break down my game and break down players' games. But I talked a lot of hands, but it really wasn't a lot of stuff like this. It was a lot of in-game poker theory that I would discuss. So Stuff like this, I never really discuss it with people how to get better at it. I just try to get better at it myself. Constant self-discipline. That's why I don't really... I haven't mastered a lot of these things before in the book. Because I never thought about them before. How he puts them, I've never thought about them before. Try to keep a mental record of the kind of games in which you do well, okay? Constant self-discipline, pay off in the long run. Drawn out sessions because any bad habits you have will become exaggerated as you grow tired. That's true. The fewer bad habits you have, the less risky it is to play longer sessions. I played a lot of sessions, man. Ooh. Discipline will also help your general confidence after 3 or 4 losing sessions. If I lose a few times, I'll re-examine my game and ask, am I playing bad? That's a good point. Sometimes I'll ask somebody else's opinion as well. If the answer is, no, you're not playing badly, you're just playing unlucky. I can believe the answer because I know I've done everything I could to keep my game at its best. So my confidence is unshaken. I continue to play the way I know I should. Maintaining confidence is your strongest defense against going bad. When you start to go bad, or just start to think you're going bad, you become hesitant. And that oft-quoted rule that your first instinct is the right one is more true in poker than any other game. When you act hesitantly, you often go against your first and best judgment. Allow your confidence to be shaken can turn a simple losing streak into a terrible... I can't believe this was written in 1978. This is crazy. Wow. At the same time, you still have to remain open to the idea that you may need to sharp up your play. You know about how often you can expect to lose just on the basis of luck, and if you have a streak of many straight losses, you must admit to yourself that something might be wrong. If so, try to correct it. For instance, if I lost 5 straight sessions at one of the better forms of poker, I'd suspect something basic was wrong. If I lost 10 straight, there would be no doubt whatever that I was doing. Okay. Controlling your emotions, I guess, these are standard mindset kind of things, right? Romantic players have the biggest effects, of course. I've seen very good solid players thrown into second childhood by their wives or girlfriends. Emotional entanglements affect their judgment at everything, and at the poker table, of course, it costs them money. They divert their interest to their love affairs. They don't concentrate, they have trouble sitting, and they want to get up and walk around. True. Poker doesn't really interest. That's true. That's true. It's a good fun player kind of concept. Really good fun player stuff in here. If you want to learn fun players, this is a really good book to learn how fun players think out there. Let's see. It's so hard to give anybody advice about this, but I believe that if something happens that is so upsetting that it really affects your ability to play, you should consider quitting entirely, at least for a time, until you regain your emotional balance. Very nice. I've been fortunate enough not to go through any trauma of that sort, but it seems to me that taking long breaks because of a big problem is a logical extension of the proven practice of taking short break because of a little problem. I like this a lot, man. I like this a lot. Never play when you're upset. Wow, I never listen to that. This is fuck that. I'm not listening to that shit at all. I didn't listen to none of these things. It's not my disposition to get upset very easily, but I've saved a great deal of money over the years by quitting whenever I've lost enough money to bother me, and that is even more important principle in limit poker than no limit, because it takes you so much longer to grind it out at limit. True. Gringos Poker subscribed on Twitch. Much love, brother. Much love. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. About once every 3 or 4 months, something will happen, like a fight at home or an argument with a good friend that will get me upset. On those days, I go see a movie or play golf. Is that really true? Does he really do that, though? Sometimes. You probably don't do it all the time, so... Actually schedule vacations. This one blew my mind because I didn't take a vacation for many, 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 many years. Many, many, many years. Daniel says, any plans to show Run It Once Some Love? Yes, Daniel. I've made 7 or 8 Galfon Challenge videos on my YouTube channel, my friend. What's everybody else's plan to show them some love besides watching? Let's see. Actually schedule vacations. But yeah, I'm going to do some commentary with them, I believe. Coming up, so if you're playing professionally, remember to take some vacations. You've got to give your mind a rest. Once my friend Rex Strauss had come by a game just to watch me play, and he told me, Doyle, you're playing terrible. I had been under the impression I was playing pretty well, but I hadn't been winning as often as usual. Jack pointed out to me that I'd been playing almost every day for a year, so I went to Hawaii for 2 weeks, and when I came back, I not only played better, but dramatically better than I had been before. This is the Phil Galfond downswing theory. Right here. That's the Phil Galfond downswing theory. Sometimes you don't even know you're playing bad. You don't know you're playing dog shit. Right? You need to take a break. That's what Phil Galfond did, and now he's come back and he's plowed away at the Galfond Challenge. That's that. Amen. Looking back, it's worth noting that even though I do a lot more self-examining than most players, I had failed to recognize how badly my game was off and why it was off until Jack pointed out to me. Because it's so difficult to recognize when you're going stale, I think it's best to take some vacations even when you think you don't need them. Schedule them. True? There's such a great difference in the makeup of people that I can't tell you how often you should go, but it seems to me that it would be better to err on the side of too many vacations than too few. They don't have to be lengthy, but there should be 3 or 4 days in which you're having fun and not thinking about poker at all. Hunt or fish or just lie on the beach. You'll be a better player afterward. Whew. The occasional break makes it easier to get a perspective on how you're doing and what your abilities are. That's very important. Sure, you want to study the emotional makeup of your opponents, but if all the players at the poker table, the one whose capabilities and limitations are going to affect you most is the one sitting in your chair, dare I say GTO. Hell yes. Wow. Thank you, Kyle Keating. He says, I don't want to stick around and listen to this, but I do want you to know that this is hilarious. Thank you. Why is it hilarious? I don't get it. I kind of want to read through some of the poker strat, like a hand. Oh, we're getting there. Okay, we're getting there. Okay. Versatile. Having recognized those capabilities and limitations, it's best to test them occasionally, not only to see if your assessments are still valid, but also to maintain a reputation of being willing to give action. Okay? I know very well that I play any kind of no-limit poker better than almost any kind of limit poker. And I know that Hold'em is my best game and Ace to 5 is my worst. But that doesn't mean I won't play anything but no-limit Hold'em. I've seen too many players who won't play unless everything is in their favor, won't play unless the game is right, won't play unless it's their game, and then won't bet unless they have the nuts. It was, Kyle, it was. This is in response to Doug's tweet. I'm doing this as tribute to Doyle Brunson. I'm trying to figure out if Doug's right or if Doug's wrong. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Right now, I'm thinking a lot of this stuff still could help a guy's game out, man. You know what I mean? I shrugged a lot of these ideas off as a youngster, too. I agree. But they resonate so well. I agree. Hearing them like this, going back and reading through it like this, really resonating with me, too. I really like this book a lot. Fucking bum hunters. That's true. Ruining the game since the 70s. That doesn't mean I won't play anything, okay? I reject their philosophy for what I consider the best of reasons. None of those players has any real money. Bang, fucking bang. If you get a reputation for playing only when you have the best of it, you'll get very few people to play against you. Somebody send this. Somebody send this to all the regs and fucking talking about the private games, right? It turns out if you get a reputation for only playing when you have the best of it, you only get, but then they'll say, well, sometimes I'll play when I don't have the best of it, right? They'll argue that, whatever, and then the fun players say it's, whatever. We know the argument. Let's not fucking get into it. So I end up playing, well, actually, a lot of you guys don't know the argument, so maybe I could say the argument, So I end up playing a lot of games in which I'm not a big favorite just to stimulate action and keep poker going. Amen. Even if you lose money by doing that, at least you have put it back into the poker economy of which you are a part, which isn't the case if you blow it in the casino on craps or spend. So basically Doyle's saying is that you should play in games even when you're not a big favorite because at least you put it back into the poker world. Give and take. Balance. Fucking Thanos. I love it, man. Doyle is amazing. I love this book. By playing the other man's game, you may get him to agree to play yours in return. By participating in the game of the day, you may... Wow, this is a real interesting business practice, too. You make it hard for other players to shut you out with a game that you don't play. Basically, he's saying sometimes you might want to do business that you don't want to do or that you can't do well or you're not necessarily have the biggest favorite at, but because someone else wants you to do business with them and vice versa in return, you might get something good in the future from that person if you do future business together. Doyle is saying, don't be a fucking nit. No, not really. I mean, he's saying that, but he's saying something else too. He's saying something else. By playing games like high-low split, Raz, 7-card stud, and draw poker, I might get a weaker player to face me because I don't have great reputation at those games. Finally, by playing those games, I maintain a reputation as a man who will bet on something at which he has no real advantage, a reputation for giving action. Wow. Don't worry that you might get a reputation for being a sucker if you follow this advice. That's the best thing that could possibly happen to you. To have the reputation of being a sucker with everybody in the world throwing their money at me, trying to win mine, would be my idea of earthly paradise. Dan Bilzerian theory right there. That's the Dan Bilzerian theory. Have everybody think that you're a sucker. I'm liking this. Great Bluff, he's saying poker relationships with other players are an investment even when you are an underdog in the game. Yeah, I think, shout out Berkey. I agree. Shout out Berkey. I agree. Shout out Bilzerian. I agree. It's good. It's true. He's saying poker relationships with other players. Basically, what I'm trying to give it a business spin and look at it from a potential business standpoint versus a poker standpoint. So I'm just reframing the idea. I understand what he's saying in terms of poker, but we're trying to take it outside of poker right now. Great Bluff. Business in general. Your reputation can be a two-edged sword. The opposite kind of reputation, of course, a two-edged sword. It cuts both ways. After winning the World Hold'em Championship 2 years in a row, it is understandably hard for me to get a lot of high Hold'em action. Ideally, you want a reputation, particularly in Hold'em, that will make other players just a little afraid of you. Not so afraid they won't play, but afraid enough to respect you. There isn't really any good way of establishing credentials as a top poker player except to get to the top and stay there. Playing head up against another good player, for instance, is not a realistic test of who's the best player, because it happens that some people who are very good at head up are not very good in a ring game, and vice versa. The perfect test would probably be to have the same lineup set of players playing against each other 5 nights a week for a year. There would be no extraneous factors like the introduction of new players, and almost no amount of luck could keep the best player from winning the most money over a period of a year, provided there was a real difference in the quality of play between the best and second best player. That'd be nice to see a league like that, right? Players get together, the same players get together every week, right? Let's say they got a season, right? So they come together and they play, and we see who's the winner. We see who's the best. We see where these guys finish at, right? But they get to play. There's something else they play for, right? Because it could be money, right? But they could also get paid money to come play too. But could also be for another system as well, just to see who's the best, and they're paid by how much they win. But they don't need to risk their own money. It's a free roll. I don't know. Could be an idea, right? Let's say you get the same 6 guys together, same 8 guys together. Seats are randomly drawn. It's a cumulative thing. And they play, right? Then they get a week to prepare. They get to study the games. They get to do whatever they want to do, whatever. And then we see who's the best. So they all got to play with each other. They all got to play together. The player who finishes first gets a certain amount of money. They're more known as the champion. They get more sponsorships. They get more endorsements. They get more ad revenue, whatever you want to call it. And then the people down the line, right? It's sort of tiered like that. Bam. 15 episodes, 2-hour sessions. I don't know how long they'd be, but it'd be edited down for sure. It'd be edited down for sure. Same players. They would get chemistry over time, Matt. That would be the thing, is they'd get chemistry over time. Yeah, may pay up front for the session. I think they're playing for money. They're playing with some kind of money, right? But maybe you couldn't get the certain players to risk that. I mean, I think you can, though. I think you can. I like the idea a lot. Why had this idea not been done? I don't understand why it wouldn't have been done, though. Right? Why wouldn't they have done that? How can I copy this? What the fuck is this shit? What up, Fireman Scott? What's happening, man? What's going on? What's going on, brother? Oh, here we go. Tournaments. I actually have never studied tournaments my entire life, so this will actually be information that I need to know. I have never thought about tournament strategy ever in my entire poker career. Ever. Ever. That can't be true, right? Obviously, I have some, but not a lot of deep thought into it. Quarantine hour here, guys. Welcome to the quarantine hour. Big Poppy Younger one here. I'm your host. We got my sidekick here, Big Bums, aka the Bumster, aka Bumblebee, aka the loud, the proud, the free. We're here, edible hour special, going through Doyle Brunson's super system, classic, the poker Bible. Some people are calling it. This is Reading with Poppy GTO. Welcome. Happy to have you all here. Very happy to have you here. Very happy. Let's get into it. More benefits and meets the eye and how to adjust to them. But in the absence of games like that, about the only way for a man to establish a reputation quickly is to enter and win in a poker tournament. That's true. That's so fucking true. Oh my God. That's so true. Oh my gosh. That's so true. That's so true. The commerce is shut down. I've actually won about 7 tournaments in my career, but they're at like VFWs and like the O'Shea's Hot 74 stuff it's like back in the day. But I've never really played any tournaments except the PCA or whatever it's called trip, I think so. Wow, that's so true. If I won a tournament, everyone would think I'm such a fucking god, right? They'd be like, "Oh, he's so good, he won that tournament." Doesn't matter how much I've won a cash game. It doesn't matter. How can he sound? How does he talk? How did he do a cash game? Doesn't matter. Won a tournament, he's a god. Unless you have to post your winning chip stacks for about a year. If you post the winning chip stacks and graphs for about a year or two, then you're known as a crash game crusher. But then it's a kind of bad strategy. You do that too. But at tournaments, if you win one, you're a fucking god. But that's not the only motivation for entering a tournament. By the time I won the World Hold'em Championship, the title of champion didn't mean much to me. There are only a very few people who are good enough players themselves that I value their opinion that I'm a good one. So all of these men are also professionals. They know who is the best player without having to hold a tournament to decide it. What the hell? Guys, why don't we do that again? Why don't we get together nine players and they have to decide who is the champion, right? So we're going to get it. Why don't we get 9 players together, right? So we get 9 players together. So we put together 9 players. Okay? They all have a debate. And they pick number 1 through 9 out of the 9. They pick who's champion, right? Let's say they do top 3. So they'll pick top 3. Chicago Joey series of poker. Okay. It'll be a discussion amongst the people. You guys got to talk about it. So they'd have to know each other. That'd be crazy. Wouldn't that be pretty sick? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Richard Corraldi with a $3.99 donation on YouTube. Shout out to Richard. Much love, brother. He said, believe me, the main motivation was the $220,000 it paid me in 1976, the first year I won. So wait a sec. So these guys bet money and then didn't play the tournament. They didn't play the tournament? That didn't make any sense to me at all. They just gave him money? What the fuck? I also won $90,000 in the Deuce of 7 World. Wait, why would they enter if they knew they couldn't win? I don't understand. Can we get the water, please, Bummy? Oh, another. Oh, you're a god. She's a god. I asked for another water. She's just got it sitting right there. This is awesome, man. You don't have to win tournament to profit by it. Even a winner-take-all tournament, the tournament itself will generate other games which can make the buy-in price of a tournament, even the $10,000 buy-in Hold'em Championship, a bargain for a good player. After people start getting eliminated from the Hold'em Championship, there's a solid week of the best poker action we found anywhere. Everyone is still in a mood to gamble, and most of them have the money to do it. Not only do you get a chance at that money by being at the tournament, but you get to know these people, and because they're from all over the country, you develop contacts that can get you a game almost anywhere else. The contacts and side games at the World Series of Poker are so valuable that a lot of players who can afford to enter don't bother to. They show up for the side games and contacts alone. GTO. I think that's often a mistake. Fuck off then. Playing in the tournaments itself helps you establish a reputation as an action man who's willing to risk a significant amount of money in a game, even if he doesn't have any substantial advantage. And action is the most important aspect of the reputation a professional poker player has to maintain. Wow. Okay. Fuck. Shit. I didn't know that. How the fuck did he know all this? What the hell, man? This guy's a god, man. What a sicko. Furthermore, the people who actually play in tournaments are the ones who get the chances at the best action surrounding the tournaments. If you force another player out of a pot in a tournament and break him because you're both... Bro, this guy's at another fucking level. If you force another player out of a pot in a tournament and break him because you're both playing on artificially limited bankrolls, he may get a little sore about it and invite you to try him in a regular game. There's nothing like playing somebody who's mad at you to increase your earnings for the year. Whoa! That's next level. Wow. This brings up one of the most significant points about tournaments. The strategy of tournament play differs from the strategy of ordinary play. It took me longer than it should have to learn this. I played in the Hold'em tournament for 7 years before I won it. Of course, I wanted to win the money, but another way I justified in the tournament year after year, and it was a legitimate justification rather than rationalizing, was on my general principle of investing money just to promote gambling and to keep a reputation for being an action man. Should have soft classical music. That's true. Let's put that on. We really got to get Eden Rocks in the group chat, man. We really need him in the group chat.
Smarna is like very
man's a
outgoing,
Hollywood god for ideas.
compassionate.
See if this music's good. How's the sound in the background, guys? Let me know. Our Bedette's GTO. Well, my girlfriend certainly seems to think so. Bidet, remember the bidet? She just said she wanted a house with a bidet today. All right, here we go. Since I felt the need to be there anyway, I kept pondering how to win. And I noticed that Johnny Moss always seemed to do very well in the tournaments. I've always been an apostle of John's at no limit. I used to observe and watch him in each poker game I went to, and it seemed he was always there. Slim Sailor and I used to joke about how crazy we were, wearing our automobiles out chasing John all across Texas. The truth was, John was usually the big winner in the games, with myself a close second. As the years passed, the margin between us got closer and closer, because I was watching and picking up his favorite plays as any young apprentice might watch and learn from the master in his field. Much of my no-limit strategy comes from those times. So this guy right here, John, was Doyle Brunson's teacher. Johnny Moss, okay, this was his teacher. Nice. I have much more respect for Johnny than a lot of younger players do. In his prime, he was the best no-limit player I've ever seen. And a lot of people don't believe that because they're too young to have seen Johnny play at his best. They fail to take into account the fact that he's some 70 years old now, and that 20 years past the point at which most men's play begins to deteriorate. Amen. Let's see here. Just because the years have affected your circulation and the speed at which you think and may have softened your ability to play does not mean you know any less about how to play. And Johnny's success in those tournaments indicated he knew a great deal about how to play. He's the only man beside myself who has won the World Series more than once. Amen. God bless All Tilt. God bless. We're trying to help that world cope with the flu out there, guys. We got the crazy flu going on out there. Take your mind off it. Hop into Doyle Brunson Super System with Poppy GTO. Doyle Brunson's a fucking legend. I love this dude. So I studied Johnny's strategy and saw that he didn't try to win early in the tournament. He tried to exist and to keep from losing his money. Now, as you may remember from the earlier part of this section. This is exactly the opposite of my normal strategy in ordinary games. And I had been trying to win the tournament the same way I've always won in ordinary games. That was wrong for tournaments. Okay. I like where this is headed a lot. I have been jeopardizing my chips on even money situations, which can be a very good strategy in the early stage of an ordinary poker game, but it's not good in a tournament where you can't pull another few thousand out of your pocket and buy more chips. In my new strategy, I tried to avoid playing big pots until the field had been narrowed substantially. Well, that makes sense. Then later, after the field had been cut to a few players, I played more aggressively and tried to get players to jeopardize all their checks at every opportunity. Using this strategy designed specifically for tournaments, I've won the World Championship the last 2 years in a row, but technically it wasn't one that gave it to him. I don't know. It should go without saying that you should mentally train for a poker tournament, but there, I said it anyway because it's so important. You wouldn't go into a basketball or golf tournament without working on your game first, and you should give the same consideration to a poker tournament. You sit down alone, you concentrate. When the tournament hand is dealt, you're playing for keeps. Eden Rocks, I'll get in touch with you, man. I'll get in touch with you. Ryan Olson, this is Poppy is a legend, but man, 562 of us have no life right now because of the toilet paper violence. That's true, man. That's true, buddy. One of the things I like about the World Series of Poker is that it brings out the finest in a lot of players. There's a friend of mine who doesn't play any good hold'em the rest of the year, but always plays pretty well in the World Series. It's been an expensive lesson to him each year, but I keep hoping that the tournament will make him realize he can be playing tough the whole year round. Tournaments are not always won by the best player. You have to be good to win, but you can be the very best and not win a tournament. Every year at the World Series, we have half a dozen or so who will always make it to the last couple of tables, but have never won and never will win. Some are very solid players in ordinary situations, but not quite good enough to win in a game against 4 or 5 of the best. And some are as solid as they come, but just don't have the killer instinct. They fade at the finish. When you're in a tournament and it becomes obvious to you that you're probably going to lose, I think it's best to die with a bang rather than whimper. Go out playing with courage instead of playing tight and meekly. Amen. Can you cool the air on a little bit? Thank you. It's getting a little hot in here. The sun. Okay. Interesting here. Be competitive with class. Okay. When you do get into those side games, I hope you remember not to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. A lot of poker players need to read this. A lot of people who come to tournaments don't really have much of a chance of going home a winner. They're people who like to play high, largely for the enjoyment, and are willing to pay for the pleasure. A few years ago, there was such a man who played in the World Series. He wasn't a good player, but he could afford to lose, and besides that, we all liked him. But one of the world-class players, a big-name player, got that man into a side game and made some kind of sucker play at him, and the fellow went for it. So instead of just taking his winnings gracefully, our big-name player showed everybody at the rail what he had done. Then, to make matters work, one of our local bookmakers made this poor fellow a 100-to-1 shot to not win the tournament. The guy left and hasn't been back. Each of the professionals had invested $10,000 every year for several years, knowing he probably would not win it, but did it anyway to stimulate action. And then these two guys, the big name and the bookmaker, drove off one of the biggest action men we ever had attracted just for the sake of a few cruel laps. Wow. Wow. That sucks, man. That sucks. That's crazy. That's crazy. Makes a good point, right? A lot of people do that now. We got duck training videos making fun of people. We got poker shares out there listing people underpriced, right? No one wants to be laughed at. Some people don't want to be a sucker. They don't want to be laughed at like that. That's a good point, man. Got to win with class. Don't chase away the fish. Don't tap the tank. Exactly. It's not only bad manners, it's bad business. Exactly. It's not only conduct unbecoming a gentleman, but especially conduct unbecoming a professional poker player. I don't care if you're playing $1 ante or $10,000 buy-in. Don't ever be guilty of it. Be highly competitive, but do it with class. Amen. Hold'em and low. That's all the tournaments. It's one fucking. I love it. I mean, I want more. You know what I mean? It's probably in Super System tool too. Oh man. Okay, that's it. If you ever played Hold'em, do we really have to go through Limit? I don't want to fucking read through Limit. Is this really Limit? Let me read through this quickly. Thank you, Not Chisholm. Thank you very much. This is a weird guy in the chat. It's the only game where I'm going to discuss the simple mechanics. No, we don't need to read this, do we? No, we don't. This is basic stuff. In No Limit, you must also have a certain aptitude to be a strong No Limit player. In a word, what you must have is heart. That's true. Big Poppy, Doyle did win his WSP main events. He only voted for the winner in the first year, which was 1970. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. He's just teaching basic odds here. Okay. Let's go from here. Every poker player has heard that drawing to an inside straight is usually a sucker play. That's generally true at most forms of poker. But in Hold'em, especially No Limit, drawing to an inside straight can be a sound and justifiable play. All depends on the situation. If you can draw to that belly straight cheap, and there's the possibility you can win a real big pot by breaking your opponent. If you make it, then you should gamble and take that 5-to-1 shot. The reward makes the risk worthwhile. I make plays like that all the time, as you'll soon learn. Uh-oh, here we go. There are also times when you'll play hands that would be completely unplayable if the ordinary standards you apply to other forms of poker were applied to Hold'em. But Hold'em is a game and a class by itself. More so than in any other game, and especially so in No Limit. Any two cards in Hold'em can get the money. It's true. Not saying you can indiscriminately play any two cards you're dealt. Not the case at all. As in other forms of poker I've discussed, I'm going to give you standards to guide your play. What I'm saying is Hold'em, there are more expectations to the rule, exceptions to the rule, than in a more mechanical game such as Hold'em high-low split. So much in Hold'em depends on the flop and your position. Okay. In No Limit Hold'em, position is, well, it's the name of the game. It's everything. If I had position all night, I could beat the game and I'd never have to look at my hole cards. Is that true? Couldn't someone do that? In position all game and trying to beat the players without... Maybe you could do that. That's an interesting idea. This is ASMR with the Big Poppy. Drawing to an inside straight is about 5-to-1 against you with two cards to come. It's about 10-to-1 with one card to come. That's another thing that distinguishes Hold'em from other games. It's very easy to see when you have the nuts. It's not so easy to know when you have the nuts in other forms of poker. You could use that fact to great advantage in Hold'em because you can represent bluffs when you don't have the nuts, and when you're quite certain your opponent doesn't have them either. I'll show you how to do that. It's something else I do all the time. Another interesting aspect of Hold'em is that you can turn the nuts and be the dog to win the pot. Here's how that could come about. And he shows 5-4, 3-6-7 flop, 4-5 is the cards Doyle has, 8-9 is the opponent's hands. And then, so 8-9 of clubs would be a favorite on 3-6-7 of clubs. Okay, got it. In the above example, I mean, it's a very good example. It's easy to understand. You flopped straight, which is the nut hand right there, but you're not the favorite to win the pot. Your opponent is. He has a chance to make a bigger straight, and he also has a flush draw. He has 14 wins, 3 5s, 4 10s, 7 clubs, with 2 cards to come. There's a 53% chance that he'll catch one of those 14 cards. That makes him a 53 to 47 or 6% favorite. There's also a case in Hold'em where you can be in a lot worse shape than that after you flop the nuts. This is an interesting situation. Could occur as follows: 4, 5, 6, 8. Oh, he's talking about a free roll. Okay. Okay, he's talking about a free roll here. Whew, okay. Connor Boyle, are you trolling me, or do you understand it more? He's saying that when you go all in here, right? Normally, when you have the nuts 5-4 on 3, 6, 7, you're a massive favorite. Okay. Normally, big favorite. If a guy has aces, right, he's drawing pretty slim. He's drawing the backdoor outs. But he's saying that you can flop the nuts, and sometimes not have the best hand. It's a pot limit Omaha thing mainly for me when I think about it. But that's what he's saying. Bam. This is pot odds section. I've literally never studied pot odds before. I actually want to read through this. You flopped the nuts, but so did your opponent. More than that, he's got a... I've never really learned the pot odds stuff before, so I'll study it. He's got a cold, free-rolling flush draw. You're in a near-desperate situation. The best you could hope to do is split the pot. The worst is that you're going to lose more than 1/3 of the time. There are 9 diamonds he can catch to make his flush, and with 2 cards to come, he's going to get there about 36% of the time. You turn the nuts, but you're up against the pure nuts. Whenever you have small connecting cards that are suited, the ideal flop would be 3 cards that made your straight, 2 of which are in suit to give you a flush draw also. And if you were to run into someone else around the table who flopped the same straight, got it, okay, whatever. Between the identical straight, okay, whatever. No, I don't care. And hold them whenever you have a hand against a hand, as opposed to a hand against a draw. The draw possibilities are just limited because of community cards. For example, when you get ace king, your opponent's getting ace king, you know, the opponent, when you want to catch only one card, queen to win the pot, you make some set, okay, whatever, pot, you got all of them, and they're easy answers. Pots on draws, draw, you're only saving pot, whatever, okay, so we get player 10 to play players, and it's more strongly initially, 10 more examples when I play, okay, okay. Alright, let's go. Had to get through there. If you think this is boring, I'm sorry. Get the fuck out of here, okay? Please. I mean, what else can I say? I think it's boring. There's literally billions of other content out there. Go load up Netflix and put on a show you like, buddy, okay? I've gotten broke more times playing bottom 2 pair than with any other hand playing Hold'em. Okay. So bottom 2 pair is not that good. Okay. Okay. To be consistent throughout the discussion of Hold'em, all 2 card hands will be stated with the higher card first. You should also go slow. I actually don't do that. I go 10 jack, 8 9. You should also go slow when you turn the top and bottom pair. It's only when you turn, it's called German 2 pair. It's the only when you turn top 2 pair that your opponent chances are considerably reduced of drawing out and breaking you. That's a really good way to explain it. But the danger in this is far greater in no limit than limit because your entire stake could be in jeopardy. In limit, your only danger is a few extra bets. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Complicated. Smoked salmon. Top bets. Amanda Annabelle, this is romantic. Thank you. Thank you. Amen. It's my kind of music right here. You got to know the history of your game, boys and girls. You got to know the history of the game. An interesting point about these particular hands, such as 6, 5, 8, 7, I'm not going to say that. I say it the opposite way. All right, what's he talking about here? Okay, we know this stuff, right? He's just explaining poker. I mean, listen, I don't really need to know how to explain poker. Although it would be nice to know, I suppose, but I just don't want to read it right now. You want to skip past things that you don't necessarily want to read sometimes. There are times you can even know more than the fact that your kicker's probably not as bad as another player might think it is. Quite often, when you know you're up against a good sound player in the situation described above, you can do more than merely... Oh, he's talking about how to put people on ranges here. Oh my god, this is an interesting way to describe it. Wow, I've never heard it described like this before. This is nice. Okay. The board comes 8, ace 8, 8. You'll have a pretty good hand with 9, 8. And you can feel reasonably confident, especially in a race spot. Someone else didn't turn 3 8s. If they did, they probably have an 8, 7 or a 9, 8 like you have, or possibly 10, 8. I mean, they're not likely to be in there with Queen 8 or King 8. There are people who play those hands, but if you're in there with a good player, he's not likely to have such a hand. Good way to put it. I like this book, man. This book's awesome. This is a book, man. There's interesting points to be noted about the small connecting cards that might go unnoticed. Let's say you play the 7, 6 and the flop is 6, 6 deuce. If an off card falls in 4th street and you continue to play your hand pretty strong, and someone's still in there with you, it's likely you're in there with another 6. Now you have to decide what your kicker's worth. It's bad, only 7 high, so you might think you've got kicker trouble, but do you? If he's a good player, what's his kicker likely to be? He's explaining ranges. Like, I think a lot of people could really understand the idea of ranges a lot better from this book than some of the other material I've gone through, man. This book's awesome, man. Wow. There are times you can even know more than the fact that your kicker's probably not as bad as another players might think it is. Quite often, when you know you're up against a good sound player in the situation described above, you can do more than merely put him on the other 6. You can name both his cards because you can know what suit he's got. So I got the ace hearts, 6 of hearts, 7, 6 of hearts, the 6, 5 of hearts. So if there's a backdoor flush possibility, a flush made with 2 running hearts on 4th and 5th, then you could get a read on him there too. Amen. Love Bunny D. The coronavirus is affecting us all in all kinds of ways. Joey reads content that's 20 years old. That's okay. Whatever works. Listen, man, we're going through a classic book. Doug Polk said, if I wanted to read a fictional work, I'd start with Super System. So I said, you know what? Let me figure that out. We got to turn the music down a little bit. Music's getting out of line. Calm down, music. The music's getting real turned up here. Calm down, music. What a classic book this is. You can't always analyze the possible hands your opponents might have and read the situation that well. If you know a player's style and the hands he's likely to play, you can usually come pretty close. If you're playing it against a weak player or somebody who's just speeding around, playing real loose and with no definable pattern, then you can't say such a player couldn't have, let's say, Queen 6. Okay. Let me try to find some hands that he played in here. I'm going to be streaming for 2 hours total. So I'm going to wrap it up in about 11 minutes here, guys. If you're enjoying the video, you think I should do more streams, smash the like button, please, if you like it. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. It's okay. Championship Hold'em in the 1977 World Series of Poker, Bones said that the pot was a turning point in the whole tournament for him. It probably was. I know it was a key pot for me because it gave me a lot of chips to operate with. Here's what happened. Ace-Jack versus Queen-Queen. The board was Jack, 6-4, turn 10, river 5. Before the flop, Bones and I got about 6,000 each in the pot. On the flop, he was the first to act at bet 7,000. I just called. The reason I didn't raise was because I thought he had just exactly what he did have. I didn't want to take him out of the lead since I knew he was going to make a big bet on the next card. The big tip-off as to what his hand might be was his raise before the flop. He was in the first seat after the blind and made it 6,000 to go. He never raised in the first seat with 2 aces or 2 kings in the whole tournament. Or any other time I saw him play. Okay, my man's limping in. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Anderson Urbano, you have to get in touch with me on Twitter. You are one of the 3 people I chose for my what's it called? Upswing poker giveaway? Yeah, the upswing giveaway. So for the upswing poker PLO course, you're one of the 3 people I chose, Anderson Urbano. So get fucking in touch with me. We got to have a conversation. Got it? Thank you. Okay, so Doyle's saying that he's slow played. He's saying he's slow played because he knew the guy had ace jack. He wouldn't raise with aces or kings. Okay. Of course, he could have 3 jacks in the spot, but I didn't think he did. I put him on ace jack or king jack, whatever. When he bet 18-5 on the turn, that big a bet, I was close to certain about his hand. As I said, when he made his first bet, I thought there was a small Wait, what is he talking about here? He's being real results oriented in this fucking breakdown here. I thought there was a small. He's being very results oriented in this breakdown. But all my doubts about his hand were removed when he bet the 18-5. Then I knew what he had, and knew he was trying to shut me out of the pot right there. What? So I called the 18-5 and moved in with the rest of the money I had, 13-8. He called my raise, even though he was pretty sure I had him beat at that point. It was a pretty big pot, almost $78,000 before Bones called the last bet. What? I could have been... What the fuck is happening here? Bro, I might be tripping right now too hard. I could have been bluffing? Why could he have been bluffing? It was a pretty big pot, almost $78,000 before Bones called the last bet. I could have been bluffing. I've been known to do it on that occasion. Yo, this dude's a psycho right now. This dude is a psycho if he just decided he could bluff for $13,000 more. A guy bet $18,000 he thought he had. What a crazy guy. Why would he ever bluff there? This pot illustrates another... Oh, I see what you guys are saying. It might be my voice. Sorry. Interesting. Okay. This pot illustrates another thing about my play that's misunderstood by a lot of people. I've heard that I was lucky in that pot because Bones had the hand he did, but did I just say that? I said he's being results orientated technically. Okay? I said he's being results orientated. Okay. But as I've explained, it wasn't luck at all. I knew his play. How do you know he doesn't raise aces or kings? Doyle says he saw this guy never raise aces or kings one time ever from first position. Ever? The guy would just limp every time. He wouldn't raise. He'd only raise ace jack. I mean, this guy's a fucking god. This is crazy. This dude's a god. He knew he wouldn't raise aces or kings. How unbalanced is this guy? Can you imagine if a guy never raised aces? There's probably guys like that at the local 1-2 table right now over in Topeka, Kansas or something like that. This load the downtown Seattle card room. Doyle does have ESP. This is I love it. Okay. You'll later learn I've got something reputation for being a lucky player. Of course, it's unfounded. It's rather difficult to win millions of dollars bang bang and playing poker and be on a winning streak for nearly 20 consecutive years. To do that, you need a lot more than luck. Damn, man. Doyle is a fucking legend, man. As you can see from the discussion of the pot I played with Bones, there's both art and science to putting a player in a particular hand. It's not always easy to do it. It requires experience, close observation of your opponents, and a key analysis of their style and play. I hope I'll be able to teach you how to do it with a reasonable degree of accuracy. But there's another aspect in Hold'em that doesn't require any special qualities, and yet it gives a lot of players a lot of trouble. It's the simple matters of reading the board and being able to relate it to your hand correctly. This is true. This is true. This book is very, very fact. I like this book. I'm going to recommend this book to people when they ask me what they want to learn a little bit about poker. Not too much, though. Not too much. Just enough. They want to know just enough. I'm giving them Super System. Classic book to read. You'll remember that the winning Hold'em hand, when all the cards are out, is the best 5-card hand. So it's really a very simple matter to figure out what your best hand is, but occasionally it gets a little confusing, and even very experienced players will make some horrible mistakes. I'll tell you about one such mistake shortly, but for now, let's see if you can figure out who win the pot in this situation. Okay, let's see if we can do it. All right, we got King 8 of clubs. The board appears to be ace, queen, king. The turn is a jack. The river's a deuce, and this guy's got king 6. So I'm going to go with player A wins this hand. King 8, final answer. Think about it, who wins? Wait, is it a trick question? To an experienced player, it looks like a simple question, but most beginners will answer it incorrectly. In any case, you'll find the correct answer in a footnote at the end of this chapter. What the fuck is the answer? The problem poster may seem very simple, and it is, but I've seen players overlook their hands completely for a lot of money. It's a chop, isn't it? Okay, I thought it was a chop, but I was like, why would he put a chop in here? Why would he put a chop in there? I thought he was troll. I thought this was at another level. I was like, why would he actually make that a chop? It didn't make sense to me. I don't know how to play this game. This motherfucker put a chop in there, huh? Aye, tricky, tricky, tricky. Aye, aye, aye. Whew. Oh my god, okay. I saw a very big pot. Yeah, he wanted to teach people a little bit about poker, but not enough to beat him. That's exactly what they're teaching her, a little bit about poker. Amen. Amen. Wow. Maybe I am a beginner. Sick. Whatever. It's more chopping ideas. This was an oversight of enormous proportions. Unforgivable, but Hold'em is a remarkable game. Well, the dealer will tell you if you have a chop, you turn your cards over, guys. Come on. The situations in Hold'em that appear to be miracles are when a player has to catch perfect in order to win, and he does. A perfect catch is the biggest draw out in the game. It's when a player is dead to only 2 cards. Got it. The game was at the Aladdin a few years ago, and it went round the clock for about 3 consecutive months. There was over $1 million on the table at all times. It was quite a game. And this particular pot, I remember very well. I lost over $22,000 in it. Okay. I had 2 kings in the pocket, and the guy in the pot with me had 2 sevens. The flop came king deuce deuce. He moved in on me. I called. What? Is this game rigged? I flopped a full, but I didn't win. He caught 7-7 on board. What the hell? What the fuck? It's a sick hand. I mean, did it really happen? I got questions about this hand. It's almost 1,000 to 1 against. Okay. I saw a similar situation in that same game. In the same game? Okay, maybe this game's a little suspect, buddy. What are you talking about? You say the same thing happened twice? You just think this game's a little fucking rigged or something? I mean, come on, man. This is crazy. This clearly the game was rigged. What is he talking about, man? He saw in a similar situation in that same game. In 3 months of 24-hour play, a lot of things can happen. They usually do. Here's what happened in this one. Aces versus Jack 10 of clubs. The flop was ace, ace 3. This guy flopped quads. This guy flops a backdoor roll flush draw. The turn was the king of clubs. The river was the queen of clubs. Are you fucking joking me right now? All right, I see where Doug's coming from. Doug's theory was, if I wanted to read a fictional work, I'd start with Super System. And now this appears to maybe be a fictional moment in the book. The game was clearly rigged. I mean, listen, the game may have happened, right? But it was clearly there was something up in this game, okay? One more hand. Other very strange things. He's alluding to being cheated in the book. Other very strange things can happen in Hold'em. One time about 8 years ago in Reno, I won a $27,000 pot with a 6 high. Oh, maybe he's not saying that. Okay. King 3-4. He had 5-6. Old boy had 5 deuce. King 3. He won with 6 severs. 5-5. Okay, never mind. I bet on the flop. This one, there's a straight on board. He's got a set versus 2 pair. Okay. One night at the dunes, I was involved in an unusual pot. I flopped a set and had to settle for a split pot. Here's how it happened. Jack, Jack versus King, Queen. The flop came Jack 3-3, turn 3, river 3, and... No, he lost it. No, he loses that one. What's he talking about? I flopped a set of trips and had to settle for a split pot. No. The illustrations, Jack, Jack versus King, Queen. Jack 3-3, turn 3, river 3. He says that he had to settle for a split pot. That's not a split pot. King wins. quads with a king kicker should win. This is not a split pot. Here's the last illustration of the very strange things that sometimes occur in the Hold'em. Oh, he's talking about this one. I'm a fucking idiot. Never mind. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. Welcome to Raise Your Edge. I'm your trading host, Joe Ingram 1. Welcome to the book reading of Doyle Brunson Super. Listen, I don't talk when I take edibles ever, so this is very just it's a unique time. I don't talk this much. Okay. Amen. Here's the last illustration. Okay, I get it. Never mind. All right, whatever. Move on. I'm really getting this section wrong, aren't I? I'm doing pretty bad in this section of Hold'em. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Okay. It's a pretty good chapter. It's a split pot. Got it. Okay, Texas Hold'em instruction. Let's fucking go. Okay, oh, 2 hours in. All right, let's wrap it up. Guys, 2 hours. We're going to wrap it up here. Keeping this 2 hours, and that's it. We'll return chapter 3, Doyle Brunson Super System book, one day in time. Thank you for tuning in. 2. Reading with Poppy GTO. This was Doyle Brunson's Super System. I thought this was an amazing book. I'd recommend it for anybody out there who wants a nice introduction to the game of poker. I would definitely recommend this book to learn about the history of the game. I would like to read this book. Then I would like to read another newer Hold'em book, because I've never really read newer Hold'em books. So let's see the difference in terms of how they explain things, right? But I think here, all very relevant information too, right? Amazing book so far. And I look forward to getting into the Hold'em strategy as well too. Someone said, if no one's taking shot, the only person that's taking shots in this book is myself, because I didn't realize it was a fucking chop, okay? Is this a work of fiction? No, this is a work. What's the one that means non-fiction? This is a work of non-fiction. Very real book. I love it. I recommend it to anyone. And let's pick one person to give away. Who wants a book, guys? Type 1 in the chat. If you want a copy of Super System right now, I'll order you one right now on Amazon or somewhere else. I'll get it sent to you. Type 1 in the chat on YouTube or on Twitch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick a number. And then I'm going to pick a number. And then I'm just going to fucking go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go pick. I'm just going to randomly pick somebody. Okay. Okay. Here we go, guys. Who will win a copy of Doyle Brunson's Super System? All right, guys. Will it be YouTube? Will it be Twitch? Let's see what happens here. I'm going to pick a random letter right now. A. What's closest to A? YouTube or Twitch? Oh, wait. No, it's a bad example, right? Okay, never mind. Let's just type. I'm going to start typing letters until I type out a... I'm just going to type out letters first to see which one I type out first. Okay. They can't see. I typed out the letter either T. I typed out T first. Twitch is going to win it. Okay. All right. The winner is Matt Vies 82. Congratulations, Matt Vies. You have been the lucky winner of one classic Doyle Brunson Super System book on Twitch. Guys, calm down. Sorry. Matt Vies is our winner. He'll get the book. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Smash the like button if you enjoyed it. Thank you. And stay safe for the coronavirus out there, guys, in your neighborhood. Thank you for tuning in. Chapters 1 and 2 of Doyle Brunson Super System book, classic poker book, one of the greatest poker books of all time in poker history. Helps shape the game for the game of poker, the poker Bible everyone needs in their connection. That's it. Much love. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. It's okay. Take care, guys. Adios.